everyone, welcome to the Commander Cast Mailbag mini episode. For the first of who knows how many, I guess. So anyway, just a heads up front, folks, this is not a full episode of Commander Cast. This is, I guess, kind of like a fill-in episode without calling it a fill-in episode. Like, two things have happened recently that we kind of had to address. One was that we've been getting a whole bunch of emails that I just haven't had the time to reply to, but I want to reply to. It's only 24 hours in a day. And then the other part is, because of our recording schedule, we were going to miss this Monday coming up if we didn't kind of adjust things. It's more, behind-the-scenes stuff. So we wanted to do a little mini-episode and talk about some of the mail and the comments we've got recently, and, jam them out.
Yeah.
So, let's get into it. We're not going to do community strategy and technology this week. You can think of this essentially like an extended community episode. So we'll go through a bunch of different emails, and then a few little comments, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. So, apologies up front if you were looking for regular Commander Cast. Regular Commander Cast will be back next week.
Yep.
And then we will kind of go from there. So, you can still keep up with the conversation on Facebook and Twitter. You can still do all those things. Please, again, send us more emails at commandercast.com, and we'll give you our personal contact stuff at the end, just like we always do. But just know it's kind of like a condensed experience this week. So, but we still got Adam.
Yo,
Adam. I
kind of want the mail song from Blue's Clues to play.
Mail time. Mail time. Mail time. The mail's here.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Okay, that's a thing. That's a very specific callback.
Yeah.
So, yeah. When do you think the generational cutoff for Blue's Clues awareness is?
I don't know, but I watched it when I was much older than I should.
Okay. Well, I only asked that because, like, this week that whole Cosby trial thing happened.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, and again, like, someone from our past that I used to enjoy is obviously a horrible human being.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like, I was talking about that in my journalism class with my kids, and we had just finished talking about, like, the O.J. Simpson trial and, like, what media coverage does to that sort of thing. And it's funny because that was also a circus, those of us who lived through that. I remember them reading the verdict. They stopped school. Like, I was in high school.
No, are you kidding me?
Oh, no, they stopped school to read the verdict. They're like, hey, this is an announcement. Like, a big major announcement came on. And then they're like,
the part I was surprised about was, you went to school?
Thanks.
Because I don't think I would have known, because I definitely never showed up to school.
I mean, I would prefer to have been raised by wolves. But it wasn't in suburban Connecticut. The wolves weren't an option. So
no, I just didn't go. I was like at a coffee shop or asleep.
That happens. I mean, I would always show up at the beginning.
Or surfing.
I mean, you show up at the beginning of school, like, to meet all your friends, and then you go someplace else. So
yeah, you had to wake up way too early for that.
All right.
If I showed up, it was like noon.
Oh, that's very decent of you.
Yeah,
so, that's nice. So I've always been a morning person. I still wake up at 4:30. So
yeah, no, that's crazy.
That might be a holdover from the Marine Corps. I don't know. Many things are strange.
Anyway. Oh, hey, I have to ask because of comments from last week. Do I sound happy enough?
Well, now you do. I don't know. So Ward called you out on being a little sad. So maybe you were sad that week. It's
now
okay
I need
to have
Hello Darkness, my old friend. Or The Sound of Silence.
I have also, because apparently I am super old, I had just recently seen, I think it was like last month, I saw that Sad Affleck meme that went around.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did I fucking miss that? Jesus.
I can't believe you missed that.
I can't believe, like, how would I be on the internet and miss that shit? That was, like, my favorite thing. Anyway, for like a hot minute, 2 years after everybody else found it. I'm such a fucking dad now. Oh, dude. Anyway, so we're going to start off with a rather long email that I've been meaning to get back to for, like, I don't know, at least a month or so. So Cameron, who also goes by Lab Maniacs, I super apologize. But I didn't want to just, like, fire off a quick thing. This is what I do. Like, I get these emails, and I'm like, oh, man, I want to do this nice, considered response. And then, like, my daughter throws up on me, and I have to go, deal with that for a little while. Or something happens, and I never come back to it. So I'm going to read off Cameron's email. I might not do this for everyone, but Cam had a really cool, long, really involved email. So I want to talk.
Right. I'm not going to cut you off a lot, but I am going to cut you off early on in this one.
Okay, go for it. I mean, Sure. We've never done one of these, so it's not like we have a format that we're,
No, I
bumping
know.
up against. So we're fine. So, from Cameron, who goes by Lab Maniacs. Hello, Mark and Commander Cast. I was
All right,
listening.
here's where I'm going to cut you off. Now we need to play Jim Croce's I Have a Name.
I do love that, like, every single one of the sound cues, like, you're just continually queuing up things for Calvin. Calvin, on my end, I hope you ignore all of them. And it's just Adam, like, asking for sound cues that you don't put in, because that would actually be better at this point. But yeah, sure. I'll
appreciate it being called out as other Commander Cast people.
You're in Commander Cast. You're in there. You know? Oh.
All right, yeah, continue.
I was listening to your most recent episode, which is not our most recent episode at this point, and I feel like I need to shoot you a line regarding the segment regarding proxies, their impact on arms races and EDH, and their approach to competitive EDH. From the start, the reserved list really hurts the space the competitive EDH has to grow. It is pretty much an accepted state to either use cockatrice, tabletop simulator, or proxies to play competitive EDH in an optimal state. You guys got close to this in the discussion regarding ROMs. There's no legal primary source where these products can be purchased. There are only secondary market sources to purchase reserve list cards. To add to this, the number of players that the print runs supported were less than a fraction of a percent of the player base that is currently needing to be supported by those small print runs. Even looking at more recent sets not on the reserve list, cards from Lorwyn block are 3 to 4 times more rare compared to cards from Khan's block, which is also, I think, probably the next spike that's probably going to go up, I would imagine. Even if it already hasn't. Like, I've been noticing Lorwyn cards have been going up quite a bit recently. Just based on player base and print run supported for those sets, the print runs for older sets have been public knowledge for quite some time. And he drops a nice little link in there that I'll try and put into the show notes for this week. Regardless of destroyed cards, it's still a very bleak outlook for people wanting to play with some of those. If you look at Time Twister, great example as you mentioned in the show, there were only ever 72,300 printed, 1,100 from Alpha, 3,200 from Beta, and 68,000 from Unlimited. If we just look at the Unlimited ones and assume that none were destroyed, lost, or otherwise unusable, we're looking at 0.3% of the Magic population having access to one of them. It's a pretty daunting figure. When looking at the use of proxies for personal play versus counterfeiting, the line is clear. Anyone trying to pass counterfeits off onto another person is a scumbag and deserves the community scorn. Hear, Cam. The use of proxies for personal play is another category to look at. From a competitive EDH perspective, we are playing in the most popular format by player base and also have one of the least restrictive ban lists. It purposely allows older, very powerful cards to see play, but most play groups are gated by their budgets, simply due to the extremely low supply from Magic's past. To add to this, the reserve list has WotC promising that the limited supply will remain that same limited supply. This means that future Commander players are going to increasingly be priced out of duels, fetches, Gaia's Cradles, Mox Diamonds, and so many other cards that are simply old. You know, it's interesting, I'd sent you an email, I'm interrupting my own interruption here. I'd sent Adam an email recently about a reserved list like faux pas that I guess I hadn't realized that From the Vault's Legends had had done for Memory Jar, as a matter of fact. Because Memory Jar is on the reserve list, but Memory Jar was also reprinted from the vaults. And I guess I hadn't caught that. That was from like 2010. I want to say it was like From the Vault, that particular From the Vault set that Memory Jar was in. And that was obviously a pretty big violation of the reserve list. But somehow that went by without... I mean, maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention.
Players definitely had a fit about it because they didn't like the precedent. Like, people who were proponents of the reserve list didn't like the precedent that could set. Like, oh, okay, well, you can do it in, like, premium versions, you know, as a reprint. They didn't like that because then, oh, okay, well, so that would have left room for invocations to be, you know, any reserve list card or, you know, so people were very worried about that at that time. And so Wizards kind of backpedaled and, you know, nope, no printing ever.
Well, fuck you, Wizards. Moving on. In older sets, design philosophy pushed spells as incredibly strong and creatures as mostly underpowered. It wasn't until recent history that creatures have started to carry the same strength behind them. This imbalance caused a vast number of older spells to be gated by the reserve list. This causes further strain for the competitive scene as the majority of decks are built with the best of both worlds. The strongest spells from Magic's past and the best creatures from Magic's present, pulling in cards from all eras of Magic. To add to the debate regarding proxies in EDH, there are very few sanctioned EDH tournaments, for which I'm continually thankful. Sorry, that was my side.
Yeah.
Shops do register casual nights on WotC's event tracker, but these games are not part of a sanctioned DCI tournament. They're not playing under DCI tournament rules and are not directly subject to the ban of proxies or counterfeit cards. The notable area where sanctioned EDH events occur are at side events for larger tournaments. In these situations, they're being played under DCI rules. However, the rules from competitive Magic are not properly set up to support multiplayer EDH. When dealing with the EDH ban list and optimized decks, there's a huge disadvantage for going last and absolutely no disadvantage to going first. In 1v1 play, the player going first does not draw a card on their first turn. In multiplayer games, this disadvantage for turn order is removed. This pushes sanctioned EDH events into a spot where your chances of victory are highly impacted by the dice roll, and you are in no way compensated for poor luck at going last. Based on the lack of proper multiplayer format support in the rules, specifically fair chances for all players in the pod, it is in most players' best interest to not play in tournaments for prizes and simply leave this format in for the casual, for-fun environment. At which point, the question for proxies is more of a playgroup and metagame decision. I do agree that players like to have real cards so that they could take the decks to sanctioned tournaments, and that does allow for easier building of decks for other formats. But for a casual game of EDH, you're looking at a different situation. What is the game you're wanting to play? Is it one where you get to play with the most powerful cards in Magic's past and present? Or is it one where you're gated by your personal wallet and WotC's inability to properly supply the players with cards? Rather than posting this huge wall of text as a comment, I thought it would be better to send it over as an email where possible discussion take place. Thank you again, Cam. The debate on proxies is one we have to deal with regularly in the competitive EDH scene and is notably more nuanced than the discussion presented in the episode portrayed. From the start, there's discussion that needs to occur between you and the rest of your play group regarding what type of experience you're looking for. But I did want to point out how much of a gate don't proxy what you don't own can be as an outsider possibly looking to join a play group. I'm one of the players who's lucky enough to have old duels, a massive collection, and even access to a few time twisters. But from my perspective, I'm sad that other people can't play with them. They're powerful cards that feel great to play with. Gating them by other players' wallets is frustrating and sad for future EDH players that haven't ever been able to play in that environment. And then Cam goes on to thank us and adding his voice to the discussion. So I really appreciate that, Cam, and I appreciate that email.
Thanks for sending that. That's a lot of good insight as to how this impacts EDH.
And it's tough. I get the don't proxy what you don't own thing. I guess I keep that as someone who does have access. I don't have time twisters or duels. I sold those off a long time ago. Not that I ever had a time twister, but the duels I definitely sold off. And it was funny that this week I had one of my students at school. We have a D&D group at school that I'm an advisor of. Fucking of course. And then someone approached me about doing a magic, group. And
that'd be good.
I mean, I guess, but honestly, I was very hesitant. And I told him the same reason that I do the don't proxy what you don't own. I'm hesitant because it's such a financial investment,
Sure.
Whereas D&D is, I bought a couple of the manuals for the kids, and I can just print off, copies of character sheets, and then everybody can have fun. We have a bunch of dice in the room and whatnot.
Right.
And that part is neat. And you don't need an awful lot of investment for something like D&D, but man, there is a large financial component to Magic that I would feel bad about trying to impose on someone. That's a huge gate. So
I guess the best way that you could do something like that is have it be limited, meaning don't run an EDH group, run a draft group, And then there's a few draft formats where you keep redrafting against people and stuff like that. That's how we used to run leagues way back in the day. So it wouldn't have quite as large of an investment, but it is still an investment. I have started to come around on this more and more because I hate the reserve list. I think it's a stupid idea. I think the contingent that is in favor of it in general is the very loud minority.
Yes.
I think that it's generally just people who have those things that are trying to make money off of something that I view as a game. And I don't feel like paying hundreds of dollars for cards. That said, I also want to play with the cards that I want to play with. Now, if something is available and a couple bucks, no, you don't proxy that. You don't proxy, by writing it on a card or something like that. But I think that it's reasonable if somebody wants to play with a time twister or a gauntlet of might or something like that, then, pay $10 to have somebody who does really nice proxies make one for you. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, that's fine. Great.
Yeah, I think I am fine with proxies. The only proxies I don't like are the Sharpie proxies. Because I like to see the cards I'm playing against. And like, who knows? Like, sometimes I just like to
see
art.
the rules text. I agree. Like, I mean, there's issues with it, obviously, and it is a playgroup decision. But yeah, I mean, if the barrier for you trying to build a really cool deck that does the thing that you want it to do is the reserve list and not having thousands of dollars of disposable income, then I just don't care anymore. Like WotC's not looking out for the people who actually want to play a very popular format. So screw them.
I mean, I think WotC is looking out, but they're trying to turn it into Brawl, right? Because Brawl was...
Yeah, but that's not looking out for... That's
trying to morph it.
Sell more of your sealed product. That's all that is.
Yes,
like, I'm sorry. Brawl is... I do not like Brawl. Brawl is a scam. Brawl is a fixed format. Like, okay, what's good in Brawl right now? Oh, Brawl is? Well, it's not going to get banned because it doesn't have a separate banned list.
Oh, Brawl.
So, Brawl is a menial little toy. I could care less about that.
That's the nicest way you could probably put that. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any use for Brawl either. It's funny, when you're talking about the limited bit, Mike, who has been on the podcast before, had thrown out a cool idea about how he was drafting some packs from Dominaria, and they kind of like put together like little Brawl decks from that, and they just kind of went for it, So it's almost like a limited commander version, which I've done before, which can be kind of fun. Deck building for that can take a long time. I mean, if you can imagine like putting together a regular constructed pool, like Brawl, I think the one thing I'll give Brawl is like, if you were going to do like a quick little block standard commander game where everybody just cracked a bunch of packs and put together their best decks, sure, then Brawl works. Right. Because I would rather do that for 50 cards.
And I mean, I did want to address something that Cameron said here. And yes, like if you and your playgroup want to play with proxies, that's fine. If you get some really nice proxies, and there are some people out there who make some really nice proxies. And I know that it's not entirely on the up and up, and so I'm not saying go do that, because I'm not telling you to do anything that might in any way be illegal. But if you were to, or if you have one,
if it falls off the back of a truck,
yeah, exactly. Then yes, you are 100% a scumbag for passing it off as a
Oh yeah, big time.
You never, under any circumstances, do that. That is not okay. If you have some kind of, or some people just like allow gold borders,
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Or something like that. They just want to play with that card. They want to know what playing a Time Twister feels like. They want to know how good is Bazaar of Baghdad in Sidisi. Well, it's friggin' really good. Mm-hmm. How good is Mishra's Workshop in a colorless deck in Trexos?
Fucking amazing.
So you play them on turn 2.
Yeah.
That's something that some people will never get to experience unless they look for some alternative. Yeah,
and that really is sad. Like, as the guy who loves playing the artifact deck, I remember playing back when Mishra's Workshop was like $50, and I'm like...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I had them.
Yeah. And then I'm like, nah, I won't buy it. $50 is a lot of money for a card. Oh, this is why I teach English. Like, I don't teach economics. But yeah, it makes me sad that the reserve list thing was probably never going to happen. Although I continue to think that thing's going to fall at some point.
Right.
But whatever.
I will say on the unsanctioned events thing, like the EDH unsanctioned events, I even know some unsanctioned events that people do around here for Legacy and stuff like that, and they will allow up to, I think it's like 5 proxies.
Oh, that's interesting.
In a Legacy event, so you don't quite have enough money for an entire Legacy day. So I mean, even when stores are starting to get on board and realizing like this format can potentially die, because if you do play in a sanctioned EDH event, it's pay to win.
Oh yeah. 100%.
But I mean, I can show up with a $40,000 deck and I'm gonna win.
I mean, shouldn't you at that point?
Well, right, but I mean the point being, like, that's just rewarding people for having money.
Yes. I mean, yeah, that's why don't
the
play in
American
sanctioned.
government does a good enough job of that. So
Don't play in sanctioned EDH events. Like, yep, that sounds awful. But anyway, just to wrap this up, thank you again, Cam, for that email and for allowing us the space to bitch about the reserve list again. I always appreciate
it's the worst.
Next up, we had one from Steven, who has been our guest in the past and hopefully in the future again. He runs the Commander Ruminations blog, and he also writes for Gathering Magic now. And specifically, it was about a comment and an email he sent to us about Halar, and the latest article, I believe I'm getting this right, is the latest article that Steven wrote for Gathering Magic called I Get a Kick Out of Halar. Makes me want to build a Halar deck even more. So,
man, I started, because my play group is doing Uncommon Commander $50 budget decks for, our next league.
Oh, nice.
And so I started trying to build Halar. So I was just looking through all the kicker cards, and I was like, God, this is really bad.
I mean, a lot of them are really bad. Yeah, maybe don't play Urza's Rage. Sure.
Well, I mean, it got so bad that I basically just said, you know what? I'm just building White-Black Knights.
All right, so I'll give you a flavor of the cards that I thought were in this article and I thought were really cool picks. So, for instance, I think we disagreed about Primal Growth, which I loved the other day when we were talking about, I forgot what.
No, I think it's good in that deck. I think it's very reasonable in that deck.
Sure, yeah, that, Hunting Wilds, Everflowing Chalice is another one that he pulls out. Vines of Vastwood, which I always forgot is a kicker.
Yeah. Everflowing Chalice is a very good pick.
Yeah. Sentinel Wood Readers, when it's kicked, you draw 2 cards off it.
Right.
Strength of Tajaru, Increasing Savagery. That's not a kicker, but it is the +1/+1 counters thing going on.
I would lean away from those. Strength of Tajaru, definitely. I mean, that's a snap keep. The Verdurous Gear Hulk that he mentions in there, I would rather play that than Increasing Savagery.
Sure, but some cards that I always forget that I love, like Mold Shambler. I'm like, yeah.
Mold Shambler is amazing. That was the one card where I was like, I could play Mold Shambler in this deck. And that was the beginning of the thought and almost the end of the thought.
Oh, come on, man. Goblin Ruin Blaster? Blow up a non-basic land for 4.
Yeah. I mean, Breath of Daragaz is fine.
Breath of Daragaz is real good. I mean, anything.
Fine. It's fine. Let's not get out of hand.
Okay, I really like Breath of Daragaz.
Comet Storm is very good, obviously. That's a snap put in the deck. I just don't think there's enough that's valued, so he has Burst Lightning down here. I'm never going to play that. I'm never going to kick that. I'm not going to pay 5 for 4. It doesn't get there. Wolfbriar Elemental, fantastic pick. Varix Bladewing, very good. There's half a deck here. I just don't think there's enough of it.
All right, I will agree that there are a few creatures. There are a few too few. You probably have to lean more on the +1/+1 counter side than you would on the kicker side. But I don't know. there's a lot of cool stuff. I need a reason in my life to play more Goblin Bushwhacker and Jiraga Warcaller. Yes. Please.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm just very meh on it. I don't think Halar is going to be a deck.
Oh, Halar is going to be a deck. I don't think it's going to be...
I don't think it's ever going to win a game.
Oh, no. Come on. I've seen way worse decks than this win games. I've won with way worse decks than this. I won a game with my goddamn Dagatar piece of shit deck. Dagatar, his ability is the same as Power Conduit, the commander.
Were you halfway through the game and everybody realized how late it was and they just left? Is that how
it might as well have been. It was just fucking lame, man. So, I don't know. I am pro Halar. I'm going to try some of this out.
I'd love to see somebody build it. You know what? Maybe I'll switch to that for the budget league because nobody's building that either. I don't know.
Give it a shot, man. You never know.
He's a 3/3 for trample. He's an elf. I guess that's kind of decent.
Come on. You got to. There's some stuff here. I'll just put it that way. There's some stuff.
So, there's a lot of bad stuff here.
I think there's a lot of cool, situational stuff. How about that?
There's fun stuff, but I don't think that, I think I have no chance of winning. Anyway, I mean,
So long story short, we agree to disagree on the relevance of Halar. I should also say that Ward in the comments, Dad Squatch, has thrown out his support for Halar too. So I don't know, man. I feel like I finally found the opposite of the art thing. You know, like the little who's that fucking guy, the stupid robot guy that you always like the art for?
Oh, Triskelion.
Yeah, Triskelion. I was gonna call it Trinisphere, but I'm like, it's not Trinisphere. Yeah, so this is like the opposite of the Triskelion thing. Like,
that's a pretty cool podcast, though.
It is a pretty cool podcast. Now, so moving on. Thank you very much, Steve. I think it was just cool. I want to give a cool shout out to that article.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, hey, tell us. Anybody, feel free. You know, if you build the deck, let us know in the comments. You know, does this thing work? Like, am I wrong? I don't think that we disagree on its relevance. I think we both agree that it's not going to be very relevant. It's just whether or not we have the motivation to build it.
I would say, you know what? I might just take Steve's deck list and then go for it. Because I like...
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, and I've done that before. I've done that unashamedly. Like, I like building decks, but if... A lot of times I have said one of my reasons I like the precon so much is because they force me to play in different ways. Like, there are cards in here that I might not choose, but, like, maybe it's really awesome, and, like, maybe I wouldn't see an interaction there, you know? Like, I don't play Grinning Ignis very much, but maybe it's fucking dope, and maybe I'll really like Grinning Ignis from now on. Fuck, I don't know. I didn't even remember that Zertod Druid was a thing. I didn't remember that card was printed. So, sure, whatever. I'm down with it, so I want to give it a shot. Next one, though.
It runs $244. I don't think I can do it in my league.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Wait, why is this so expensive?
I know, I'm looking. Oh, well, because it expeditioned the Lightning Greaves, so that's $100.
Well, that's why. I'm like, there's not even a doubling season in here.
It gave me an unlimited Soul Ring, so that's $20.
Okay, yeah, no. All right, so
now it's down to $124. Yeah, I could probably build it.
Yeah, you could definitely do this. Come on, man. What's Elvish Mystic going to set you back? 5 cents? 10?
Yeah, so, I know.
I mean, most of this stuff, like, how many copies of Drum Hunter do I have lying around? I can make this happen.
I don't even know what that card is.
Drum Hunter? Come on, man. Drum Hunter is the beginning of your end step. You control a creature of power 5 or greater. You draw a card. It's like the Timmy Assist.
That's so bad.
It's the Timmy Assist. Do you have any idea how many fucking copies of Drum Hunter I run in decks? Oh, and you get to add 1 colorless to your mana pool.
I will say that you run N number too many, where N is the number of decks that you run it.
I think, oddly, the only one that I wouldn't bother running in this deck is Birds of Paradise, because I'm not a huge fan of Mana Dorks. What I said about Elvish Mystic, not
that's the best card in the deck.
I would probably not run Birds of Paradise. So that's just me. Steve, don't take this personally. That's like my only comment. So, moving on though. Next one is not a specific email. It's just from Billy, who writes our Horde articles. And I just want to give him a quick shout out because he's in the middle of working up a squirrel horde, and he's done so many cool Horde articles for us in the past that I just wanted to make sure that people get a chance to sit down and really read those. I worry sometimes that the article content, which I don't do a good enough job of shouting out on the show, gets overlooked sometimes, and it falls off the front page and it might as well fall off the earth. So Horde in general, I think is just really cool. I wish it got a little more love.
Yeah. We have a zombie horde that one of our people in our play group has. I will be interested to see a squirrel horde, because the zombie horde can be, depending on how you build it, very tough to fight against. Squirrel horde I can't see being quite as intimidating.
I mean, I am biased because I've already read the article, and I am going to say that it does include a couple really cool cards from the last unset.
Nice.
Yes.
I like it.
So I think that pushes the power of the Squirrel Horde over the top. So
nice.
I don't want to give anything away.
No, I'll be interested though.
But that is definitely it will definitely be worth reading when it comes out, as are all of Billy's Horde articles. Like if you are thought about building Horde at any point in time, like go back and just search Horde on the main page, and like you'll find all of his articles. They're definitely worth reading. Like they'll give you a lot of cool they can scale up and scale down, which is one of the things I like about Billy's Horde so much. Like, you can go in a lot of different ways. Like, if you want to give yourself a real challenge, you can. So it's kind of like a select your own difficulty thing that he always includes in his Hordes. So,
They're
Big fan.
usually not ridiculous expensive to build, and they offer a different play experience for you. So
Yeah, I mean, at some point, if you've been playing the game long enough and you want a new experience with Commander, you should probably just go and buy some tokens, like a mass amount of tokens from, I don't know, Star City or whatever. For something, you could buy scroll tokens, or a lot of times you'll get tokens. Like I know Card Kingdom does their own little tokens, so you can get those like super cheap.
Yeah.
Go for it. It's worth it. But next one, the next one's actually it's from Mike, who's been a former guest and will be a guest again soon as we can arrange the time. But for this one was an interesting idea for a show that I thought I just want to talk about. I don't want to give the goose away ahead of time, but I want to talk about the idea a little bit so we can maybe solicit some comments and emails from listeners so we can incorporate your feedback in this episode. So Mike wanted to talk about burnout. Like, what do you do when that spark for Magic is gone? How do you go about rekindling that spark? I think we all kind of cyclically do that, and I don't want to get into the topic. I just want to, throw that topic out there. Excuse me.
Yeah,
people.
that's potentially a good topic. I'm obviously open to talking about it. Let us know in the comments if that's something that you would be interested in us talking about. Sounds like a great community topic.
Yeah, and I think, you can go a lot of different ways about it too, but I'm also really interested in hearing other people's stories of how they come back from burnout. For me, it's a cyclical thing. Like every year as, like I'm a public school teacher, so my year has seasons to it, unlike other jobs, I think. I mean,
right.
I think a lot of jobs have seasons to them, like, tax attorneys have seasons,
Sure.
But like mine kind of has like predictable ebbs and flows. And sometimes when I'm like just really busy or like it's wintertime and I don't want to get out of the house because I live in the fucking frozen north, sometimes it usually ebbs then and it picks back up around this time, around like April, May, when people start coming out of their house finally.
Right.
And then obviously I have summers off, so I get to play and do a lot more in the summer, so I'm a little more engaged in the summer. But burnout sometimes happens with anything. Like sometimes I get burned out on fucking whatever. I don't know. I got burned out on the most recent Netflix reboot of Lost in Space halfway through the first episode. So what do I know? But anyway, it would be kind of neat to hear from the listeners on this one. So thanks again, Mike, and we'll talk back and forth, man, and we'll get you on the podcast soon. Next one is actually I got two different emails of this from two different folks.
I was just reading this and I was like, I think you and I might have two different answers for this.
Yeah, we probably do. So, and this is also like when stuff like this comes up, I'm like, well, I can reply to it, but I don't honestly know what Adam's going to say. So I kind of like this mailbag episode we're doing anyway. So both from Phil, who's a great contributor on the site. He just wrapped up, and this is my fault that it just wrapped up because I forgot to fucking post it. A great series called The Power of the Dark Side. And if you are a mono black player, like, you need to go read Phil's stuff. Like, go do that now. He's also belt-fed weapon in the forums. And so Phil and a listener called Timo both had the same kind of question. So I'm going to kind of briefly paraphrase, not paralyze, and then kind of stick them together, which is basically like, why don't other content creators talk about us? Like, if you listen to other email like shows and podcasts about Commander, of which there are tons, there's the Commander and guys, there's a Command Center, Command Zone, like all kinds of cool stuff. We've been around longer. Like, we've been in the game since 2011. Which is, 7 years of doing a Commander podcast on and off with different crews. Like, yeah, we get the crown for the longest. Why don't other people talk about us? Like Timo's was funny because it was just like,
I was gonna say, like, is this verbatim what you have written here?
Yeah, that from
Timo's. I would read what he has.
Yeah, sure. His was real quick.
Some
it was
of
just
it's
like,
funny.
Hey, why have I never heard from you? Heard of you from any other content creators? Do you have some kind of beef with other creators? Your podcast seems to be the oldest EDH cast, but is never credited as such. That was it, and it was just real quick.
Yeah.
And then Phil said something similar, to which, it essentially boils down to the same thing of like, hey, how come the whole lot never mentions you guys, but you've been around longer and have more episodes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to go on this one? Go for it.
All right. So I'll give a slightly political answer here. So not everybody uses or consumes the same content. For example, I personally used to listen to Command Zone. I don't listen to Command Zone anymore. And mostly because I don't like their show format. They do a great job with production value, but I don't like their format. I think that it gets very repetitive, and there's a lot of advertising in the way and things like that. So I'm not a huge fan of that show. I don't listen to Commanderin, and I don't listen to Commander's Brew. Most of what I consume is gameplay videos. So even though I'm on 2 podcasts. But those are pretty much the only 2 podcasts I listen to for myself, which sounds very...
Now that you say it out loud.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds horrible, but I mean, I just check to make sure, that I'm not sounding like a complete idiot all the time, which right now I'm doing a great job of. So I mean, that might be part of it, I mean, maybe our audience who likes us is divergent from the audience that likes those things. And maybe those podcasts don't legitimately listen to us. There are a lot of Commander podcast videos, what have you, out on the internet. People listen to and watch different things, and I chalk it up primarily to that. There's probably a little bit in there of slight inconsistencies, and I mean, I know that there's been a lot of cast changes and transitions and things over the years with this one that maybe people who used to listen don't listen. Maybe new listeners have come on since our current cast. There's a lot of reasons for it. I do not personally have any major history or beef with anyone because I'm a nobody. I don't even know these people. That's my answer.
Okay. Yeah, my answer in the nicest possible way is that we are beneath their notice. That makes it sound terrible, but let me explain. So we don't make any money on this. Like, we don't have a Patreon. We don't. I don't want to say shill, but like I'm not rap money rich. Yeah, we don't advertise.
There's no income.
Yeah, we don't do this. I mean, I'm not gonna say why Adam does it, but I don't do this for cash. I do this because it's a nice creative outlet. Like, I love talking to Adam about cards. I love interacting with the community. I love playing the game. Like, that's why I do it. Other shows have other reasons behind them, I think. You got to think about it. Like, what's the incentive for a Command Zone or a Commanderin or Commander's Brew? Like, these guys who have this nice professional setup and they do it, I would assume it supplements at least some part of their income. What's their incentive to give CommanderCast a shout out? Like, are they going to get any more subscribers by doing this? And I hate to boil it down to that, but no. Are they going to get, are they going to reach any more of their audience or increase any more of their metrics than they already are? No. So there's only a few hours in the day. They've only got so much time to do content. I totally get why they don't shout us out.
Yeah,
I can totally get why we don't get credited for, being the oldest around or anything like that, or, one of the longest running podcasts. I don't want to say one of the longest running podcasts, period, but how many other consistently running 7-year-old podcasts do you listen to out there?
Right.
So, I give us some credit for at least that. And for me, this is just the way I got into Commander. When I first found it and I first Googled it and I first started listening to Andy, CommanderCast obviously holds a special place in my heart. It's the reason why I continue to run the website and keep doing this every week. It's a thing to me. It means more than just a website or a podcast. So, I mean, I have absolutely no beef with any of these guys. I don't know anybody. I've exchanged emails a couple times with some other few hosts here or there, or I've sent emails out to other places, and it's mostly just hey, I really love that episode you did on Whatnot.
Right.
I can think specifically of an episode that, in the wake of all the drama that went down earlier this year, Commanderin did an episode that was really interesting about a sociologist who studies magic and the social effects of magic and why people react in certain ways. That was a fascinating episode. I love to see what the Command Zone guys are doing from time to time. I don't watch it religiously, but I like what I see. I also love a lot of the smaller ones. If you go to EHREC, in their community spotlight, and you just look through there, man, there's a lot of good content. Just in quickly, the Commander Cookout guys do amazing stuff. The Commander Time, I love that Nate Burgess kind of branched off and did his own thing, or however that happened. I don't care. I like Commander Time an awful lot.
Right.
A new one that I just started listening to, which I think is really well done, is Commander Central or CMDR Central. If you look at it, That one pops up. It's very consistent, real high quality. Like, I really like those guys. They just did a nice deep dive on Dominaria, like I'm sure lots of people did. But, they have a really cool setup and a really insightful, like, there's a lot that brings to the table. Like, it's not just people talking about, oh, I really like this card. Like, they can really help you up your game if that's what you want to do. Or, like, find other neat ways to interact with cards, I mean, there's literally, like, too many to list.
Right.
I've been meaning to get around to EDH Recast. Like, those dudes don't need a shout out from me, but, like, I've always been wanting to get around to that. And, like, sometimes, again, there's only so many hours in the day, right? So.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and to me, like, yes, it would be nice if there was, but this is, all right. So, like, the uber liberal, like, everybody should hold hands and be happy. But, like, yeah, it would be nice if the content creator community was, for EDH, was more cohesive and more communicative, like, between them. I know that some of them are. Like there's little enclaves of people who are like, talk a lot, but yeah, I mean, I really wish there was like almost a forum for like everybody to, small creators, large creators, everybody to kind of, work together. Cause I mean, I'm cool with all these people. I mean, they do things differently than we do. And that's, Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, everybody should just hold hands and communicate. And
fucking hippie.
And they should just listen to what they want to listen to. And
oh, fuck. I'll go sing Kumbaya. Yeah, damn it. You fucking get a haircut.
I know. So, Calvin, put Kumbaya in there.
Yeah, so, look.
This is my fourth song request of the episode.
Just keep them coming, man. I can't wait to hear this when it comes out. And Calvin just like inserts like a big fart noise or something in there.
Honestly, it would just be better if you just put in like crickets.
Yeah,
every time I said that,
it would really be good. Anyway, yeah. So we don't have anything wrong. Like, long story short, I get why we don't get it. Like, I get it from just like a time and money standpoint.
Sure,
and that's fine with me. Like, I do not take things to heart because I'm a grown ass man and I do not derive like a sense of. Like, the internet does not affect my sense of self-esteem, or like my pride at all. The internet,
right? Yeah, I mean, I think both of us are more happy with if we're happy with the product that we're putting out.
Yeah,
and some people enjoy it. Great.
Yep, 100%. So
yeah,
if you found it, you enjoyed it, awesome. We'd love to have you. So,
right.
Moving on. What do we got? Actually, there was a little bit more. There was a little bit more too.
I was gonna say there was like a whole lot of exchange.
Sorry. All right. So there's a lot more to Phil's, but Phil just had that the part of the beginning that he shared with Timo. So I'm not going to read all of this, but there's really nice things he said, about us in general, but also how much Phil appreciated like us and art. Like, how much we spend time talking about art. Like you said, going all the way back to Andy and Rachel, your podcast approaches the game in a far more genuine way and closer to how I feel most people approach and play EDH. One example is the art is a really big part of the game. However, unless there's an artist swinging by to drive listeners or viewers, the other cats would never dedicate 2 episodes to art, much less spend 25 minutes talking about various Tolkien renderings. All right, I'm sorry about the Tolkien thing. I apologize. Well, I think Ward was very nice about not cutting me off during that part. So, yeah, what can I say, man? I'm a big Tolkien guy.
I think that a lot of podcasts would not have that conversation because it's not. It's
an audio medium
for a podcast. I mean, like, hey, everybody, follow along. Have magiccards.info up when we mention a card, and also have like Chrome up so that you can look up these obscure artists that we're about to throw out there. So I get why a lot of people don't tackle that unless you're on a video show.
Yeah,
it is difficult to expect people to be able to follow along in that way, because a lot of people consume like while they're mowing the lawn or in their car or something, like, and you can't ask them to Google stuff so that they can follow along with that without doing that. So it was a weird topic. I mean, I was very happy to do it. It's a subject I'm fairly passionate about, but
yeah, possibly not the ideal medium for that, but hey,
yeah,
whatever. So yeah, no, we love doing it. At some point, I'm sure we'll probably do some version of it again.
Yeah, sure.
Just because that's what we like talking about. Like, I really like talking about art. Like, think about the Dominaria spoilers. Like, I was excited.
Dominaria art is awesome.
Yeah, and I was excited about it, and then I got re-excited about the same cards once I saw, the art that they had on there, because the art was phenomenal. Like, it just makes it so much better. And it's been an undeniable part of the game forever. And I will tell you, like, there are other collectible card games that occasionally I'll dip into here and there. But the style and the art are not up to specs, and I have to say, I think I snub them a little bit because of that. So
yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Like I don't like how cartoony Hearthstone is.
Yeah, I can't get down with that.
Like it's a fun enough game to play. Like I've played it a bit, but it's not for me.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like not everything
like
has to be
simple
for
Magic with cartoony stuff. Like it's just
Yeah, it's a thing. I do have to say, like, the thing. It's not a physical card game, but the game that I've played that probably comes closest to that is, if anybody's a Witcher fan out there, like the Gwent art is amazing.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it, but I have not played it.
Yeah, I mean, I played it because I played, I don't know how many fucking, like, hundreds of hours I sunk into Witcher 3, and it was amazing. And I love The Witcher anyway. Like, I've read all the books. I'm a fucking nerd. There's like 3 fantasy series I really like. It's like Game of Thrones, Tolkien, and The Witcher. Like everything else.
All right,
so
interesting.
Yeah, it's a strange cross section there, but I'm not really down with it. Oddly enough, for someone who does like the fantasy card game thing, I'm not really down with an awful lot of fantasy. But yeah, like that artist and like the work that they put in there is really, really good. I'm trying to think of a specific card game that turned me off. I know there must be some, because there's like a proliferation of CCGs recently that just aren't. I mean, they're like Magic clones that just fall off.
Yeah, I mean, people are trying stuff out. I mean, a few will stumble onto some level of success, and a few won't. Yeah, I mean,
yes,
how it is with anything that starts to get popular.
Yeah. Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! Why did I forget fucking Yu-Gi-Oh? Yeah, I can't stand the fucking art for Yu-Gi-Oh.
I read the rules, and like I've never played a game of it. I've read the entire rule book, and I still don't understand how that game functions.
In fairness, you could totally do that. Like, I could hand you the revised rulebook that I pulled out of my starter pack from Revised, and you would not be able to understand Magic, I don't think. But they've gotten much better. Really? Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
The rulebooks that used to be in starter decks?
Yeah, which I still have.
I read them all.
I mean, I did too, and then I screwed up.
That's what I went to for rulings on like Trample and stuff like
that. Stop trampling over my analogy. So. My bad. That was big. Don't laugh at that. That was fucking pathetic. Don't laugh at that.
That's why I am more prone to laugh at pathetic things.
It was you should have just spit on that one. That was bad. Anyway, so the last thing I want to say about Phil's email is that we've been meaning to do like a deep dive on like a series of shows about creating shells for decks, because there are certain there are certain deck archetypes and certain color combinations where cards are just like, if you're playing white, yes, you should probably always play Swords of Plowshares,
Yeah, I've thought about I think of it as like packages. So like, here's a mono green ramp package. If you're playing, mono green, you automatically put this in. And it's like, 10 cards or whatever it is. Yeah, I've been thinking about that idea for a while, because I think if you design good enough ones, you could almost just sell them. Like, here's a removal package, $10. You get solid removal in those colors.
Interesting. I hadn't really considered that, I suppose. Yeah. You mean like something like a shop would do?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, we're not trying to start a business here, but that's an interesting little thing. There you go. Free for LCG owners. Or LGS owners out there. But anyway, like that, we were thinking about doing that for Black or Artifact specifically, because that's Phil's jam. So we'd love to have him on one time. We kind of like do a shell or a particular deep dive on a specific color. We already talked about monocolors, but it wasn't. This one would be specifically focused on like how would you build up like a generic shell for this color combination. Yeah. So I thought it'd be kind of neat. Anyway, that will come in the future once we kind of line something up, probably over the summer. Phil said he was just finishing up some stuff from his schooling, and I got to finish my school. I got a couple more weeks left, and then when I'm lazy and just useless over the summer, let's put something together, man.
Yeah, and then I'm pretty much dead until July, because this is like the busiest time of year for me.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Anyway, next one from Drew, a.k.a. Bad Wolf. I just have to say, Drew, thumbs up, man. I like that. Anyway, hey guys, love the cast as always. Quick correction about Decimate, though. And this was useful because we totally screwed up the rulings on Decimate. And we got this
I was going to say, a few people.
we totally got this from a lot of people. And I think this is the last episode that Mike was on. And then both of us were saying, like, no, Mike, that's not how Decimate works. And
and he was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
And we're like, no, that's not fucking true. Yeah, we're totally full of shit. So anyway, love the cast as always. Quick correction about Decimate. If your opponents sack one of the targets after the spells are in the stack with legal target, Decimate still resolves, it just ignores the target. And then he goes on to include the ruling, which is 608.b. .2b, sorry. If the spell or ability specifies targets, it checks whether the targets are still legal. A target that's no longer in the zone it was in when it was targeted is illegal. Other changes to the game state may cause the target to no longer be legal. For example, its characteristics may have changed, or an effect may have changed the text of the spell. If the source of an ability has left the zone it was in, its last known information is used during this process. The spell or ability is countered if all its targets, for instance, every instance of the word target, are now legal. If the spell or ability is not countered, it will resolve normally. However, if any of its targets are illegal, the part of the spell or ability's effect for which it is an illegal target can't perform any actions on that target, or make that target perform any actions. The effect may still determine information about illegal targets, though, and other parts of the effect for which those targets are not illegal may still affect them. So, long story short, you can get 3 out of 4, and Decimate will still...
The spell, the short version of that is the spell tries to complete as much of its job as it can.
Yes, that's a much better way to word it. And also, long story short, we were totally wrong and Mike was totally right.
Yep. So, sorry about that.
Just gonna hang out over here and eat some crow and then move on to the next part, I think. Actually, that's the last email.
That is the last email.
That is it. Look at that. So we end on us taking our foot out of our mouth this week. So, nice. And that was pretty much...
We can make mistakes, too.
Oh, thank you. So Adam gave us permission, so I can just say whatever the fuck I want on the cast now.
Sure.
As opposed to every other week. So,
banding allows me to declare everyone's blockers. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean that's what banding does.
No one will question it because they have no idea how banding works.
I mean, we could just do the thing where if you say it loud enough and long enough, it works. Like that's how life works. So
no, this isn't politics. This is a magic.
Oh, okay,
magic.
My bad. Sorry, that's one thing affects our lives drastically and for a long period of time and causes real suffering, and the other part is a card game. But whatever, it's fine. So moving on, folks. Like that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you guys for sending in all those emails and comments. I look forward to more too. I'd love to do more mailbag episodes.
Yeah, we can totally do this. I mean, even if it's even if we only have a couple and we put them in the community segment and we just do it this way,
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that. I love it. I think this was a good way of getting you, Adam, in on this too, because a lot of time people send me emails and I'm like, I kind of generically fill in what I think you would say, or more times than not, I'll just say like, "Hey, this is what I think." I don't know if Adam agrees with me, but maybe. So, and one of the best parts is that
he's probably got it right.
We generally have like not totally polar opposite outlooks, but we have different outlooks on things, which is why we make a good duo on the cast. So, it is nice to have you on so we can talk about mail together. So. Yeah. So now you can just go sing Kumbaya and make a little bonfire or whatever you were going to do.
We can even talk about female together.
No.
Huh?
No. I spit on that. So.
Yeah. I heard Trump got nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
I mean, you can nominate anyone for the Nobel Peace Prize.
No, I'm just saying. Like, I mean, that's not a joke.
I mean, sure, he probably did. Anyone can nominate. Like, I could nominate you for the Nobel Peace Prize. Not that you don't deserve it.
Do that.
But yeah, sure. Why not? You can put it on your resume.
No, nominated for Nobel Peace. That would be amazing, actually.
I'm not sure. Like, if I put that on my resume, I think I would spend more time explaining that, like how that came about in a job interview than anything else.
No, I would put a link and everything.
And just like, yep, it's right there. Check out from me, Nobel Peace Prize. Thank you. I mean, I didn't win. Competition was stiff that year, but it was an honor to be nominated.
Hey, if Oscar nominees get lauded for that, I think a Nobel Peace Prize nominee is pretty good.
That is true. Hey, that shit appears on posters. So
or lauded. I said lauded. That's not how you say that.
Whatever. So anyway, ladies and gents, if you guys want to contact us, please send us more of the mail so we can do this more often. Email commandercast@gmail.com, Twitter @commandercast. My email is in the notes too. And then Adam, where can they hit you up if they want to hit you up?
You can hit me up on Twitter at Squire9999 or at the Trinosphere.
And again, folks, he does take nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize. So
I do. I take as many as you want to put in there.
You know,
If I end up getting like a half dozen nominations, that'd be amazing.
Do you think they count? Like,
I have no idea. I don't know that process at all, but it would just be amazing.
That would be really good, man. I don't know. Just say like, I wonder if you have to say they got like multiple nominations. Like, would you get nominated in different categories?
I would put it on my resume as multiple nominations.
Oh, hell yes. Yeah. I mean, it would always go on there. I would love to get nominated, not for a Peace Prize, maybe nominated in other categories I'm also not qualified for. Like, nominate me for mathematics. Or,
right, like achievements in science.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be stingy about it. Please, I'll take all nominations. So,
I mean, you were in the military. You fought for peace in the world.
I don't know if that's how I would categorize my service, but...
I mean, I'm just saying,
but yes,
put him up for a Nobel Peace Prize for that.
Yeah, we were severely stretching the definitions there, but that's okay. If Commander Cast is good for anything, it's severely stretching the definitions of all types of things. So,
good card.
Don't hate. Look, just for that, I'm going to send you
art.
I'm going to send you like a copy of Urza's Rage just because of that. So be sure to check out our CommanderCast Facebook page, folks. And then a big thanks to everyone here in the CommanderCast Network. We will see you guys next week with episode 317 and more community strategy and old school technology. So until then, let's get it.
Boom, boom.
Boom.